I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. I'm here with Harpreet Badohal, NDP candidate for the riding of, I'll let you say it because it's a mouthful.
That's right. It's in Okanagan, Lake West, South Kelowna.
Yeah, so it's a big riding.
It's a big riding.
In territory for sure, right? So it's down, kind of like down the lakeshore there in the Mission a bit, and then on the west side, and then all the way down into
Summerland. So Summerland, Peachland, West Kelowna.
So when you're door knocking out there, you got a few doors, you got a few miles to walk. Right?
Yes, it is. It's a big riding, but that gives you an opportunity to go out and connect with residents, as I've been trying to do. A lot of driving from here because I live in the Mission area, from here to Summerland for sure. Yeah.
You're actually in my riding.
Yes, sir.
There you go. NDP. What's the game plan for the NDP? Because I know when Jagmeet Singh was running, the leader of the NDP was running his ads early on down in the Lower Mainland. I did an interview with Mario Canseco yesterday, a research poller, and he said that at the beginning they were running ads talking about that Jagmeet Singh was actually contender to be the Prime Minister of Canada. But now the ads have kind of condensed more so to make sure that they retain some of the seats in British Columbia to try to send as many NDP delegates as they can to Ottawa.
Yeah, the focus of NDP, from the beginning of this election process, it has been on everyday hardworking Canadians and families. Wow. Those are the values we are focused on when we launched our campaign, and it is the same. So that's where we are focused on. Rest, everything else, it is a surveys. One survey comes out, second survey comes out. So, but our policies, our platform, it is all focused on seniors, young people, and hardworking people. Yeah.
Do you think that Jagmeet Singh and the leadership of the NDP did enough to take credit for? Because a couple of those programs that the NDP or the Liberals did were actually NDP programs, like dental and childcare, and those were NDP and pharmacare, and those are like pushed kind of like the trade there. But I don't hear it coming out that much though.
Yeah, we are as candidate. Whenever I go around talk to residents, so that's what we are telling them about achievements. So the biggest thing, it was the dental care program. So dental care is basically healthcare, right? And healthcare is a Canadian value. So what we in NDP did was that we expanded that Canadian value by addition of dental care. And since the program, there are about 1 million people who have seen a dentist for the first time. Yeah. And it's a big thing, not only for identifying any dental issues they have, but also for the protective purposes. So yes, there has been a lot of advertising propaganda last year also, and which might have overshadowed, I do not know, about the good work that was done by NDP.
Yeah, because I think the Liberals are trying to steal your thunder now, because they said they really did the dental program. I mean, it was pretty clear that it was done by Jagmeet Singh.
It was done by Jagmeet Singh. They have always been. We have always been focused on our social priorities, and that was the dental care and the pharma care, which we want to take it beyond those diabetes medications, and also not only that, but national child care policy.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you read their plan, their platform, it basically takes credit for that, and it also takes credit for getting rid of the carbon tax, which clearly was a conservative thing, wasn't the liberal thing. They didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Confidence and supply agreement was what was between Liberals and NDP, and it was under that we pushed for all these social programs. So the idea was that as far as you are working for everyday Canadians, making these changes, there we are supporting you. We are not a part of the government as such. Yeah. None of the NDP MPs were minister in the government, so decisions were taken by them. But we were supporting them because.
But you got a lot out of it though because of that support, though, right? Yes. You know what I mean? Like if you weren't in that supply and confidence thing, you wouldn't have got everything you got.
Yeah.
It was clearly because you had the hammer.
Right? You have to be there and kind of be in that agreement to keep moving the things and keep them make those decisions, which will help Canadians.
Yeah. You're also affiliated with the BC NDP is affiliated with the NDP party. Do you think that helps you in British Columbia here right now?
Oh yes, it helps in many ways, I would say, because recently there has been a provincial election,
Correct.
in October concluded, and I received about 33% of the votes in this area, and I think I was able to communicate and convey that how NDP party is connecting with the everyday Canadians and where our focus is. So that that focus was conveyed, and that connection really helps. That it is the candidate now representing the same section of our population, which is everyday Canadians, at a national federal level. Yeah.
So, looking at the polls, though, it looks like the NDP has given away a lot of its support to the Liberals. Like, it looks like the Liberals are pulling support from the Greens, from the NDP, because the Conservatives haven't really lost a lot, but the NDP and the Greens seem to be coalescing around the Liberals. Do you think that somehow you guys haven't got your message out there, or when a person like Tom Mulcair, who used to be the former NDP leader, comes out and says, "Don't vote NDP, vote either Liberal or Conservative"? Do you think that hurt the NDP?
I have no comments about Tom Mulcair, what he's doing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about this information is coming out of surveys. Basically, all the surveys which are coming, and surveys, more than either the snapshot in time. These surveys cannot capture the energy that goes at the ground level when we go there, when we meet the residents, when they ask us questions, and then we move from one residence to other resident, one person to other person, and then those residents, they're talking in their communities and they're discussing the issues that they have met the candidate and the type of information they have received from us, the type of commitment they have seen in us. And that is how the change actually happens at the ground level. These surveys, they cannot capture it. Recently, I think recently there was some information that about 1,400 data points make the basis of one of the online popular surveys. So just you tell me, 1,400 data points in a riding. So let's talk about the precision and let's talk about the accuracy, right?
Yeah. We broke down the Liberal platform and the Conservative platform. They're kind of completely different platforms. I didn't get a chance yet to read the NDP platform. What's in there that Canadians can look forward to?
You see, there are different kind of this is a detailed platform. If we can.
So what are the key points?
Yeah.
Like
The focus is the same. The focus is the everyday Canadian. For example, we want to say that okay, we want a cap on the credit card interest rates. They should not be more than, for example, 1%, right? Because
1%.
For example, 1% or 2%, whatever it is. Right now, the credit card rates are very high, and they hurt.
I think the max is 28.8.
That's what I'm saying. So why 28.8? Tell me, 28.8%. That is just one example, and not only that, but
well, then why do you want a banker? I mean, those policies. I've been arguing about these for a long time. There's no way that, and they take advantage of the most vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Like the people that can least afford it are the ones paying the 28.8, right?
We are going through some difficult.
Do you know what I mean? Like so the banks take advantage of the most vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems. I don't know if 1% seems real because they obviously that's lower than prime and the Bank of Canada.
No, I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
So what my idea of saying is that we are passing through a crisis of affordability.
Yeah.
And when affordability, what you have to do is you have to first control the expenses and increase the income. So how are you controlling the expenses? First, you will say, okay, we and NDP we stand for example, eliminating GST on the essential items. If your home heating, there should not be a GST. Your essential cell phone, there should not be a GST. Right?
Well, maybe no GST on everything. The GST was brought in as a temporary measure. The Liberals promised to get rid of it. Remember the Red Book? John Chrétien promised to get rid of it because it was 7%, and they never got rid of it. And then Harper came in, and he took it off down to 5%.
But let me tell you about the Harper. When you say the Conservatives, just in the last fall, NDP was trying to extend that GST repeat to all marginalized communities, but the Conservatives will not let it get through.
Well, the Conservatives really had no power, right? Do
you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is that is our focus. That is our focus for the NDP. That's one of the platform things we are working on. So there are a number of other things. In the platform, but which is for everyday Canadians, I will say,
Yeah. So where's Jagmeet Singh spending his energy in these last few days? He hasn't been into Kelowna. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
I do not know. He might visit this area because we still have some days left. I do not know about what his schedule is. But as I was reading in the newspaper that he has been being a leader of the party. He goes, I think, everywhere. That's what all the leaders do, right?
Yeah,
They
I
go
mean,
to
they go
different.
wherever they need help. And
They
stuff
need
like
help.
that, right?
They go to the Ontario. They go to Winnipeg. They go to Alberta. I was reading a news item. I saw his photographs with Rachel Notley, and yeah, I mean he's everywhere where it's needed as per his program and schedule. Yeah.
So, I guess we'll see Monday night where this all shakes out. But people like a lot of the talking heads on TV are saying there should have been a leadership review, just like there was for Justin Trudeau before this election. But I mean, that's not for you to say, I guess. But how do you think this shakes out if the Liberals get a supermajority and they take most of the NDP seats? Do you think it's time to, someone like Mulcair and them saying that maybe that the NDP should kind of like mold into the Liberals? Do you think it's time for something like that?
What I think is that at this time where we are sitting doing this interview is that we need that orange in the parliament. We don't want the parliament to turn extreme into red and blue like they have it in the United States. So there is a value of having NDP in the parliament, and just like you said, that it was NDP that was able to get all those programs and concessions for everyday Canadians. And given the Donald Trump's tariff, the way things are moving, NDP is the only party that still has its focus on maintaining services for essential services for Canadians. So there should be somebody not looking after the interest of the millionaire and billionaires. And we know about the platforms where the Liberals are right now and where the Conservatives are. So nobody's really talking about regular Canadians.
Yeah, so my dad was a NDP and a staunch NDP. He was also IWA in the union and was a job steward and all that, and a big believer in the NDP. And NDP at that time was really the social conscience of Canada, right? Do you know what I mean? And I guess that's still a similar role, right? Like, like they worry about the dental care and the pharmacare and it's like the social conscience of Canada.
Yes.
How do you get that message out, though, when it seems to be like so dominated by, the other two parties right now?
The way to get message is the best way to get message is connect with the residents, connect with the people.
Like the door knocking.
That's a door knocking, and those. And see, when I'm sitting here with you today now, that's what I'm doing basically. You're a local journalist here. You have a local company here. You have a coverage area here. So when we talk about this, your viewers will watch what I'm saying, what I'm talking, and when I go knock at the door, they might have more questions for me. And that's how the democracy works, and it should work. The ideas of democracy, it should not be coming through the propaganda, what the type of we have seen in the last 2 years, and those 1-2 word cliche sentences. No, that's not what it is. But it should be the discourse as it is we are seeing now.
So we asked every candidate when we did the smaller interviews on Bill C-18, because that's really what's hurting local journalism. And what do you think of Bill C-18?
Yeah, to my understanding, that was not started with an intent of hurting the local journalism, but yeah, there has been some sad stories where I know this for a fact, and you have informed me in the past also.
Sad stories mean 100 outlets, close to 100 outlets have failed across Canada in less than 2 years. That'll be 2 years in June. Traffic has been halved across Canada for all outlets. Revenue is in half, and then the Liberal government has selectively decided who gets funding and who doesn't.
You have lost a viewership close to 200,000, if I'm not wrong.
That's
right?
correct.
I have one word.
More than half our traffic. Yeah.
I have one word for that.
What's that?
That's called the corporate bullying.
Really?
For example, see about Meta, about Facebook, about Instagram. So those are the corporations that make from.
No, but I'm going to say this to you though. You're saying it. You're blaming Meta.
Let me finish.
Yeah, sure.
Let me finish. Those are the corporations that make money on their platforms, that make money in Canada. So the bill was intended that they should be sharing those profits with a local journalist, like your company here, right? Like other companies over there. So those local companies, local journalists could thrive. So what they have done, they have gone back and they are now bullying that if you will ask us to share our profits with your local journalism, what we will do, we will not even share their content.
Yeah. No, but that's
that is not how it should be. Yeah, I agree with you.
But that's not really how it worked though either. So it was a few organizations that asked for it, newspaper groups, legacy groups that asked for it. But for us and most outlets, it's a symbiotic relationship. We put our content there. Facebook doesn't steal any content. They don't steal anything. We willingly put it there. We willingly put it there. As
that's
the
true.
CBC, as a CTV, we put it there in exchange for traffic. And that was Meta's argument. They should be paying us. We give them traffic. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a symbiotic relationship. It was twisted and manipulated. And if you look at the consequences of the action, what's really happened is local journalism has been choked off. The government is feeding out money to select organizations, making some viable and others not viable.
I understand. I totally understand the frustration there, Jim. I honestly, I feel about this. I'm a total supporter of local journalism.
Yeah.
I support local journalism. Local journalism outlets, they are an essential piece of our democracy.
Bill C-18 needs to be repealed.
What I will tell you today, what I will say you today is that I am committed to, if I go to the parliament, to come up with what options there could be. You said you gave me one proposal, right? That need to be repealed. Maybe there are other pathways also which could work. But again, that is the type of the discourse. That is how it should move forward. And that is what my commitment to you is today on your platform. That if I go to the parliament, I would be bringing that case forward and finding a way forward. And I don't think
it's too late for so many, though. It's too late for so many.
That's unfortunate. That's really sad and unfortunate. It should not happen.
And the alarm has been ringing for a long time, and that's the sad reality of it. Yeah. And that is the sad reality of it. But I'll move past that, though. Okay. Well, we did bring it up in the chamber when we moderated the chamber thing, and we asked every candidate that same question. What do you think the big issues when you're door knocking? What are you hearing from people? What are you hearing from people as the big issues?
The big issues is one of the big thing is affordability. People are worried that given the realities of Donald Trump from South, the affordability crisis.
The affordability problem has been here long before Donald Trump, right?
That's what I'm saying. That the affordability crisis might get worse. That's what they're saying. That we are already in that issue. But it might get worse because of tariffs which are imposed by Trump. And if that happens, then who is going to take care of everyday regular Canadians, right? Who are not committed with any millionaire, billionaire corporations, right? So what they're worried about is not about the profits of those big organizations, but about their everyday essential items. So what would be the cost of their essential items? For example, if I tell you, the canola has gone up by more than 50%, about 47%, right? What has really happened that the canola prices have gone up? The diapers, the children diaper, they have gone up. So they are worried about those items. Would there be a party? Would there be some sort of a control system to stop that kind of a price gouging?
So I'm just saying on tariffs, though, tariffs that Trump puts on Canadian products going in Canada hurts Americans. Tariffs we put on products coming into here hurts us. So that's in our control, and that's why a lot of economists have said we shouldn't overreact and put tariffs on.
No, it's not overreacting.
I'm just saying, like, when we put tariffs on, that's what hurts the consumer. Where the danger is with Trump is that it hurts the employment, like some of the jobs.
Then what's the end? Okay, he continues on imposing the tariffs, and we sit and watch.
No. I'm just saying it hurts jobs. It hurts the economy. Yeah.
When you say it hurts the economy, maybe that is a moment for diversifying the economy. Yeah. Maybe that is a moment for looking at different markets. But if we do not respond to a bully, and then bully will never stop.
I think he's more than a bully. He's crazy. He's past bully.
He never stops, and he will not.
How do you deal with a crazy person? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Actually, those are the ways. First of all, is that you counter the measure dollar by dollar. Okay. And secondly, you look after the alternative markets. In the recent times, the European Union, since Trump coming, they have made almost a dozen new trade deals world over. And China is making their own deals world over. So what I'm trying to say here is that maybe it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to find out, remove our interprovincial trade barriers. First of all, let's have
that should have been gone a long time ago.
I agree with you. Now,
I mean, why hasn't it been gone? That's a good question.
That's a good question, but hindsight.
The NDP government here in BC could have removed those things, especially on wine and stuff like that in Alberta. You know what I mean? Like that should have been gone a long time ago.
Interprovincial. there have been progress. And I know for a fact that David Eby did make that a relationship with Alberta about the wine movement.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is on a larger basis between the different provinces, not only between for the movement of goods, but also for the movement of services.
Yeah.
When I moved here from Saskatchewan, my wife moved here from Saskatchewan. She's a dental hygiene practitioner. You know that. She has to write all those exams again. To be able to work here. Now, if there is a truck which is loaded with some agriculture produce and it is moving from one province to other provinces, there are so many conditions.
I guess my question is, why hasn't this been done a long time ago? I mean, you know, like they've had a long time, and then the other thing is that we've had our biggest asset is, you know, like LNG and stuff like that, and the Japanese were here begging for it, and the Germans were here begging for it, and the South Koreans were here begging for it, and we told them there's no business case for it.
Well, going to your first part of the question, that why it has not been done, it takes a foresight on the things, and I think this situation with Trump might act as a blessing in disguise for us Canadians, that we are able to get away from what should I call it, dependency on the United States.
Heavily reliant.
Heavily reliant, yes. Yeah. It was quite natural also, because we had kind of a free borders next to border, and it is natural. But again, hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? We did not prepare for the worst, but now maybe it is the time to move and get in a position where we are immune from future issues like that, so that we produce aluminum here in BC, and we don't have a facility to make those cans for our beer, and we send the aluminum to US and the cans come here. Now there will be a double kind of, why don't we invest in making a can making facility in BC, right? Those are all the thoughts. So that is what I think, looking forward, what type of investments we need to make in this province, we need to make here in the region itself. Right?
So where does the NDP stand on our natural resources? Because that's the stark contrast between the Liberal plan and the Conservative plan. The Conservative plan is unleash the beast, unleash all the natural resources of Canada for Canadians. And then the Liberal plan is to build a green energy superpower, which basically is no pipelines, and they're talking about the energy of the future. Where does the NDP fit in that plan?
There is a fundamental position NDP has, that we don't believe in the expansion of the fossil fuels, because we know this for a fact that the fossil fuel are fueling climate change, and we have seen the effects of the climate change right in our house in West Kelowna in a couple of years back. So we do not believe in that the fossil fuels are the future of energy. We believe that there should be expansion of an alternative energy means. We believe. What
does that mean, though?
Like what I'm trying to say here is that we believe in east-west energy grid, but that should be the power, electricity.
So you're saying hydroelectric from Quebec to Alberta?
What I'm trying to say is that we need to develop our own resources here. We need to develop our. So again, it's a big question. I cannot answer. I cannot answer in one or two sentences and tell you the answer towards that.
Well, so, I guess the bigger question is, Canada is one of the richest resource nations in the world in resources, right?
Do you mean resources? Or do you mean oil and gas? If you say just oil and gas,
LNG, uranium, potash, like everything. Right?
Yeah, everything. Absolutely. I have worked. See,
you and I both worked in a mine, right? Do you know what I mean? But we both worked in a mine. Yeah. But it takes 20 years to get a mine built here.
Oh, well, that is a time period mines get built, and I have worked as a professional in mines. I know about that, and still we are a big exporter of the potash comes from the mines and also
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Saskatchewan. Love Saskatchewan.
Uranium too.
Oh, yeah, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like Canada's biggest resource is natural. I mean, its biggest asset. Like most countries around the world envy Canada. Like
we need to recognize one fact. You know, we cannot let our house burn and make money. We cannot do that. We cannot have our house burning and then we are focused on making. We have to take care of our house first. And what is our house? The place we live in. Right? Yeah. We cannot have those average temperatures rising to a condition where our agriculture.
I guess the question.
One second. Where our agriculture becomes unsustainable. Yeah. Where our water resources are depleting. We cannot come to a situation where our glaciers are melting and we don't have water in those dams to run our dams. So I mean that is a longer version, and that is essential.
But I guess the question back to you then would be this, because this is the question that's posed to a lot of people that say what you're saying. LNG is fairly clean. LNG is fairly clean, and we have a lot of. Just let me finish now. LNG is fairly clean, and we could be selling it to countries like India that are right now burning lignite, right, which is dirty coal, right? So would replacing lignite with LNG be way better for the world?
Well, that's a very specific, close-ended question. And
No, I'm just asking, yeah.
honestly, that's a very close-ended question, and I would prefer not to kind of answer that
Okay.
one, this one at
But
this
yeah,
moment.
but I'm just saying
I
there's
will,
a
I will
lot.
saying,
Yeah.
I will say that about you asked me about the policy, that what we believe
Yeah.
in basically. We believe in energy. Yes, we believe in clean energy. We believe in that energy that does not damages or harms our environment, so that we do not face the issues like we are facing. We cannot go into that Harper era type mentality where there were government instructions coming from the Harper government stopping government scientists from speaking about the climate change. There has to be more information exchange. There has to be more knowledge about this thing. This awareness need to go to the grassroots level, to the schools, so that the children can start thinking about that what type of changes they are needed in the future. So we have to pass this land, we have to pass our resources, everything to our next generation, right? And so we have to leave our house in a better situation where it is now. We cannot see another event like we saw in West Kelowna. That could have been worse. It could have been. So we have to plan.
There were
for
people
this.
that would argue about that too, that we don't do enough in mitigation. We spend so much money, and I've done so many stories on forestry. We spend so much money in firefighting, we spend very little in mitigation, and we need to spend a lot more in mitigation.
Well, see, those all, after that, those events are happening, there is all type of knowledge and information coming out. What are the steps that can be taken? What are the emergency measures that can be taken? What that can be taken? What are the preventative steps that can be taken? And yes, those are all good suggestions. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because if you look at, again, and I've done so many stories in forestry here in British Columbia, because forestry, I used to work in the forestry industry as well. Forestry we used to be one of BC's #1 industries. I think still forestry and mining are like 1 and 2. But many of our foresters have been closing up places here in British Columbia because they say it's just not viable to operate here in British Columbia.
We'll
because you can't access fiber, can't cut down fiber. And if you look in comparison to Finland, Finland has very young forests. It's the same world. And they have very few wildfires, right? Because their forests are very young, because they actively harvest them and replant them and harvest them and replant them and stuff like that. And
naturally, you have worked in the forestry there. Definitely, those are all good insights. What you're telling me about this here, and we will have to accept this fact that we have not diversified, value added our forestry over a long period of time. Also, we have been focused on exporting the logs. That is one big.
And this is the discussion I've had with Brenda Bailey of the NDP government. She said that same thing. We need to value add. Yes, we shouldn't send raw logs, but I would argue that sawmills, which have been closing in droves here, sawmills, finished product, 2x4s, 2x6s are finished products that go into the walls of homes, right? They are not a value. There is no value left to add to those things. Those are finished products. So, and in Merritt, there used to be 6 mills, there's 0, right? Canfor closed the operation in Bear Lake and said that they weren't going ahead with their expansion in Houston, and they curtailed shifts in Prince George because they said British Columbia is not a viable place to do forestry, and they're going elsewhere. They're going to the United States. They're going to different places to operate because they can't access fiber.
First of all, it's a beautiful thing that you are discussing, taking these issues to the leaders at the ministerial level.
Asking questions, that's what media is supposed to do, right?
I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate that, because when you are discussing these matters with the experts sitting over there who have the ability to make those decisions, I think that's a democratic conversation, and definitely I think you must have been able to get some good answers from
democracy is messy, right? Democracy is supposed to be messy, right?
And I appreciate that conversation. Sure.
No, I think we can do more, and the only way we can do more is if we're allowed to speak to it, right? And that's the thing that, if I go back to media, only certain media are allowed to speak to the government sometimes. You know what I mean? They selectively allow certain voices, right?
But I think in the last few months, you have been able to get interview with everybody in the
BC area.
In the BC area,
I've done
right from Premier to a candidate.
I'm not complaining about them. They've been good. Like I interviewed Premier Evie himself,
Yes,
right?
great.
And Brenda Bailey and the Forest Minister. Like I've done
Very
a
good.
lot of work in forestry,
Yeah.
a lot of work in forestry.
That's why I say that local journalism, when I was saying that there is a value, when we can take our local issues and ask those questions to politicians and representatives, that's how it should be.
I would brag in this market, we've probably done more in forestry than most of them combined. But you know what I mean? Like, because I think it's such an important issue for the Okanagan because of the wildfire, right? Do you know what I mean? Because of the wildfire, because the wildfires hurt not only our community for the smoke and the health things, but it hurts our tourism, it hurts even our name, our brand, right? You know what I mean? Like Okanagan and all that kind of stuff.
I 100% agree with you. And again, they bring the focus again on one key issue, which is climate change. We talk so much about the
but it's not
carbon
just,
pricing.
But I'm just saying it's not just climate change, it's forest management.
No, it is what I'm saying is what is fueled by the climate change. Basically, there is so much discussion, so much talk in last 1 year, tax this, tax that, carbon tax. But what is the root cause? That was just a tool for what? Tool for the climate change, to prevent the climate change. So the focus needs to go on the real issues, which are challenges for us.
I guess in that, and I've had so many discussions on that too, is that Canada can't change the climate by itself. Do you know what I mean? Like we're insignificant when the Americans, the big economy, the Chinese and India don't do any of that stuff. Their economies are massively bigger than ours, and they are not adopting any of these things.
There is a lot of information and not factual information in that. I'm a science student. I did a master's degree in that. So, but let's not go into that, or I'll just start opening books here and showing you.
Yeah, we don't have that much time either. We don't have a lot of time, for sure. I do, to end it off here, when you're going to the door, I think that's the most important thing. What's the message that you want to get out to people in your riding right now from the NDP? What's the message you want them to hear from you?
What the message I want to give to the residents of my riding is that I'm not here to maintain the status quo. I'm here to fight for you. And we have had the same representation in this area from decades, and that has not really helped making the changes. This is, at this juncture in time, we need new ideas, we need a fresh start, we need a new leadership. And that's what I'm offering to present in this area, So support me and please vote for me in this upcoming election, so that we can make that a new starting and we can make that new beginning in this region. Yeah.
So Harpreet Badohal of the NDP, asking you to consider him, and then the NDP, the social conscience of Canada, and I would say that from the past when my dad was a staunch believer in the NDP. And the NDP's gone through a lot of changes over time. Jack Layton, when he took the party to heights, right? That the NDP's
Did I tell you the story that Jack Layton was my inspiration to join NDP when I was doing my masters at UBC in British Columbia?
One of the Canadian greats, Jack Layton.
Yes, and one of my classmates, Rebecca, she invited me to go to one of his rally. And that's where I first saw him. But I was so inspired, but there was life necessities ahead of me. I could not join, but he was my inspiration for sure.
I mean, there's no doubt that Jack Layton deserves accolades for what he's done, and I believe like the NDP has been the socialist conscience of Canada for a long time, and I think a little bit of that got muddied here with that relationship between Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh there, and there was a lot of anger and dissatisfaction with Canadians that this dragged on this long, but and then maybe Jagmeet Singh is wearing some of that because the anger doesn't seem to be going on to Carney. It seems to be going towards Jagmeet Singh because he's the only one standing there between the two of them.
We are presenting our value system, what we stand for, and why there needs to be an orange in the parliament, why there needs to be a diversity in the parliament. So we will stay on the same message, conveying. And let me tell you that also the NDP party has a number of qualified candidates all over the ridings in Canada. I really hope and see people will see that the value they bring.
Like I said, I mean, everybody. It's important to have a social conscience, right? Like, I mean, it used to be, and then we'll end here. It used to be that the Conservatives were all about business. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of business focused, and the Liberals were kind of like that middle class, kind of like family, and the NDP was social conscious. But if you look at the NDP the Conservative platform, the Liberal platform, it's flipped, right? It's completely flipped. The Conservative platform seems to be towards the working person. The unions are the ones endorsing it, and then on the other side, it seems to be more about the professionals and stuff that are endorsing the Liberals. You know what I mean? It's kind of completely flipped, right? Like the parties have kind of like traded places, right? And the NDP is, like still supposedly doing their job, and it's
very interesting when I see the interviews and when I see the Liberal candidates saying, whenever you ask them a question, oh, Mr. Carney will take care of this, oh, Mr. Carney will take care of that. So I want to, but like Mr. Carney is not going to be your MP from Okanagan or Kelowna, so you need a strong representation, and that's what I'm.
I think what they're doing though is because the same team's there that has to bear some of the responsibility for what happened the last 10 years, and they don't really want to do that, so they just push one guy to the front and say, well, that wasn't I wasn't me, but like in the background it's
hopefully people will see and judge their own candidates. They will look the qualification, they will look the background, and they will look the commitment and the values they stand on.
So again, out of respect to my father, my late father,
yes.
He liked the NDP, and he believed it was a socialist conscience of Canada. So,
thank you. It's a beautiful word when you say that. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah. And we do thank you for watching Now Media.
Thank
you. We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.